All right, yeah, Apush podcast really quickly. So let's start with it. Okay, we'll start with the Roosevelt Panic of 1907. So there's a financial panic during 1907 under the presidency of Theodore Roosevelt, and people blamed his trust busting for basically causing businesses to be unconfident. Uh, this was also caused by banking speculation, but this hurts Roosevelt's reputation and his relationship with big business. Um, so Roosevelt eventually chose not to run in the next year after that, so 1908, and he wanted his William Howard Taft instead to run. Uh, Also, Taft was a little more cautious, so he was bad at uniting the Republican Party. Taft promoted the dollar diplomacy, so he wanted the U.S. to invest in other places to expand American influence. Uh, so Taft filed more antitrust suits than Roosevelt, but on the other hand, so there's a lot of like split in the Republican Party. So Roosevelt against eventually ran in 1912 under the Bull Moose Party, and he won new nationalism. But Wilson won because the Republican Party was split. Woodrow Wilson was a minority president, but he was an idealist. He wanted the government to restore fairness in the economy and democracy. Well, Wilson tackled the tariffs, the Underwood tariffs, and introduced a gradual federal income tax, which is a progressive idea. Wilson and the Federal Reserve Act created the Federal Reserve System to stabilize banking and control the money supply. The Clayton Antitrust Act strengthened antitrust laws and protected labor unions from being prosecuted as monopolies. And Wilson's eventually did the FTC. He created the Federal Farm Loan Act, child labor laws, which were overturned. Uh, and moreover, it wasn't only that which he did. He did a lot. He did a lot more than just that. Some of the other things that he did were the following. He also let's talk about World War One. 1914, World War One. Uh, uh, World War One. There was a war in Europe between the Allies and the Central Powers. Wilson declared neutrality, but American trade and cultural ties favored the Allies. Um, uh, and then a couple of other things that are kind of important. Uh, and was enthroned. He won the League of Nations. Has 14 points. The Committee on Public Information started manipulating mind and creating propaganda. The Espionage and Sedition Act limited free speech, and Eugene V. Debs was jailed for opposing the war. The nation's factories, so the government agencies to the War Industries Board, coordinated production economy shifted fully to wartime production. Labor shortages increased wages and union membership, and the Great Migration saw African Americans move north for factory jobs. Women contributed to the war effort, strengthening arguments for voting rights as well as they worked, which helped to supplement the labor force that was going into the war. Selective Service Act drafted millions of soldiers called doughboys, which helped turn the tide in 1918. So, these are some of the main important facts about World War One. Some other small important facts were that eventually America. So what happens after? So the peace treaty, the Treaty of Versailles, actually some say caused World War II. There's the so-called Article 41, where they basically said that like we want like we're the guys who like want like the Germany has to take responsibility for the war. Uh, there's a couple other like battles that happened. Can't take me. They're all like from French names. Eventually, the American troops boosted Allied morale and manpower, and by late 1918, Germany faced collapse at home and on the battlefield. And November 11, 19, they signed the famous armistice. Uh, and then Woodrow Wilson did get the David Lloyd George Clemenceau, Victor Orlando wanted different things. Especially George Clemenceau, he's called the Tiger of France, and he wanted to destroy Germany completely, right? Something important about that. Shoot. Yeah, so it's very important that something it's very important that a lot of the okay, cool. Apparently it says the computer might restart, so this stream might get cut uh due to restarting. Shoot, it's not uploading. Please upload. Turn in. Okay, cool. And there's a couple of other more interesting points. These are some more finer points about the war, but interesting to know. Sorry, it's Article 230.